Hello and welcome to the Cronos Watcher. Another check-in for price action a little earlier today just because of some IRL circumstances. But we'll jump straight into it, and I was going to keep the checklist kind of honed in here. Sorry, I need to switch to our stream. So we're just omitting one or two, and we're going to go through some of the kind of top movers for me and the ones I was already watching, of course. So again, if you have any suggestions of the kind of more established tokens, even though we're so new here, definitely drop them in the comments or in Twitter besides. So straight into it here from MMF. So far in the daily, we've had a serious recovery from our little scare. Again, we were looking at testing that $1 range, and we've come up again above the 110, which I was looking for just on the daily now. So there's again a potential for massive swings of volume. You can see here from our turnaround that last time where we touched a high of 120, we were already able to make it down to that 109 on closing within the one daily candle. So that would be something to watch for here again today. Some profit taking after us making it back up to this range, some leftover volume moving back out. So we might test again that kind of $110 and below range, but the hopium being we continue with this on another daily candle tomorrow, looking for a close at least somewhere around 105 or above, and again hopium being that we close somewhere around this range of 115 and above. That would signal some strong continued upside. Again, the ecosystem narrative really strong and continuing to be so. So complete $10 range opening there and closing at higher highs tomorrow. If we zoom in real quick on the 4 hour just to see what it did, you can see the majority of the movement was there around midnight. Is it? Yeah, midnight. And what did we have in volume was 3.3 million. A 4 hour opening of 105 at midnight and closed at 111. So I could presume that's maybe a lot of US volume by time, maybe. And then you can see the volume of that stint slowed down again here. Continued upside on the 4 hour candles. Looks strong enough, but again, we'd be looking for some cool off and a turnaround on the daily at least. And tomorrow hoping at least to open up somewhere lowest around that 110 range in order to see some continued upside on the daily. So that's a look at MMF for the moment. Just to quickly recap, opened at 105 and is looking to close at the moment at 115. Now again, we're 8 hours away at least. It's 4:30 now, so 7.5 or so from closing. So we have another 2 4 hour candles to close in, see how they do before midnight tonight, and again might see some similar price action as the US comes out to trade and things like that. So that's a recap on MMF, at least. Again, just to say again, like we're climbing as I'm speaking, we may see a close more towards that 110 range just for people taking profit. So one to keep an eye on there, MMF, as it spikes up. Watch for the profit taking. So Sky again has continued its run on the dark crypto platform. It's their share token. Do your own research, of course. Have a look into it. But it has done a massive spike over the last couple of days. So if we look at just the last 3 days that we've been watching here, we've already seen a total of an 18%, roughly an 18, let's call it 20% rise, very roughly. You can see that there's a huge amount of volume within the candles, quite a big range. We opened here on Sky at 1629, and it looks like we're going to close at around 1700, but our highs and lows have been 1723 and 1577, so roughly $1,700 and $1,500 there. You can see quite a range the day before as well. We had a high of 1659 and a low of 1540, so we're really playing around with that $1,500 range, looking now to test up to that kind of 2000. It's our significant regions for opening and close at the moment, I would say, are the 1750. That would signal some strong continued upside, but we're going to really look for some profit taking and cooling off around this 1500 range. There's a whole 20% there that's sort of fair game as far as I'm concerned, because there will be, again, psychologically significant, a lot of profit taking around this region. You can see the only negative volume we actually had there was back in the 20th, where we had an opening of 1300 and a close of 1245, which indicates again just simple profit taking, lack of movement. Maybe given what we had seen in this spike up here, we might have some sort of kind of swing-ish behavior going on from some of the investors who were buying in there and had a 40% jump and simply wanted to take that profit at 1300. Obviously that's not everyone who knows who's holding what where in that, but that's what that looks like as we see this continued upside trend here overall since the 14th of about 116%, that we will see continued profit taking in there. Again, I was thinking myself we might see more of that within the $1,500 range, so you want to be really careful there. I think that is the comfort zone at the moment to kind of test back to and work at for a while, and then we could be comfortable again moving towards the 2000. Again, Sky really hot at the moment, one to be careful of if you were new to or anything like that. Good platform, good to look into, do your reading on, but for the moment looking like we're continuing this massive upwards spike. This will look like something else, I'm sure, on the weekly once we get to it on Sunday. But a continued upside trend for Sky, an opening at the moment of 1620. Well, we did open on the 24th at 1629, excuse me, looking like we might only close at 1694, but our high has been 1723, so it's really pushing up, looking to test those upper ranges, but there's a lot of profit taking happening at the moment. Our safer expectation is that we try to play around with the $1,500 range, test those lows. Our profit taking ranges from the few days before, 1466 here, you can see 1548. Now they have moved straight up off it, but you can see larger wicks indicating that there is profit taking at these ranges. And there's obviously quite a lot of new volume here to be careful of that might be stepping out again. So quick recap on Sky. Going to be a huge spike on the weekly, but let's see what happens with a cool off too. So on to the Cronos swap exchange here and CRN, the Cronodes. It's actually not, this is Cronodes. Now we have to be very careful with what we call our project, because we also have the Cronos nodes project coming soon, I believe. So unfortunately we've seen some more continued downside here on CRN, which I was expecting. The 489 range becoming our low today so far. Our lowest low has been 468, so it seems like our closing is going to test down below that $5 range, and that's what we were looking for yesterday. We seem to close here at 598, so literally even psychologically, as soon as that $5 number comes up, people are selling, and I believe they will also be reintroducing or returning their former rate of tax. I believe there was a slight claim tax relief in the last week or so, which it has been announced will end soon. So that's obviously going to have a huge effect on the price. People are selling now before they have to pay more in tax, which is obviously tanking the price a little more. As you can see, we still have a drop off in volume, so it looks like most of this selling interest is as a result of the project's action itself. And now we just, as we've been saying over the past week, we need to see more narrative from the project. At the moment, I would believe that testing down to the $3.50 and $3 mark is certainly fair game at the moment, once there is more eyes on these large sell candles, particularly over the course of the daily, since we calmed down there for a while at $10. So we can expect some strong continued downside, I would guess. The next psychologically significant range being that $2.50, $2 mark. To me, at least, people start seeing that again and be a large amount of sell pressure. Hopium for this at the moment is that we managed to test somewhere around here, find a bottom range at this $4 mark and be moving within the $5 for the project's continuation, and as they try to develop more and do more things with the community, that would be the hopium that we can move and squirm our way back up to that $5 range and stay somewhere stable within that. So that's the hopeful outlook for CRN at least. So quickly moving on to MMO. massive uptrend continuing here. Simply an ecosystem narrative thing. We have the MMT thing coming up. They're announcing the MAD token, the MAD box, separate launch pad has been announced and things like that. So simply ecosystem narrative and excitement. Value of the token continuing to rise with people buying and not so much profit taking happening for our investors over the past while at least. Often what you see with MMO, you can see the trend over the course of the daily here is large upticks and spikes, and then those kind of smaller volume candles here are literally people taking profit during those times. So we're so young that we've moved up off this $192 range all the way to this $10 range. One to be very careful of long term for the moment. The rise here is ecosystem narrative and excitement, which can obviously cool off, can be very dangerous with market dynamics, of course, but for the moment, narrative pushing MMO certainly to that upside of $10, and that would be very psychologically significant. Again, we would expect to see continued upside after there, and some, again, ecosystem excitement. For the moment, we opened today at 9:20, and again, we're a good few hours away from closing, but the closing is reading 9:38 at the moment, 9:35 as I'm speaking, but we've had a high of 9:53, so we're really looking to poke into that $10 range, and again, that becoming very psychologically significant. You can see with the amount of uptrend we have the potential to see here on the 23rd and both on the 19th as well. We do some negative volume, all right, on the 20th of March, but you can see the recovery is fairly quick after this. And before that, we had some fairly settled volume for such a new token and the nature of the news narratives and things at the moment. So it seems that there's going to be continued excitement around MMO at the moment. We want to be wary of that $9 range and touching it again because we've so much new volume that might jump back out and move us down to that $850 range, all hugely psychologically significant to see that first number change. So we would want to be careful of more red dailies like this one, where simply we might just have large sell volume, particularly towards the opening, which shows up red for all of those waking up across the world or finishing work across the world, and that continues down. So you can see the potential here. On the 20th, we had moved all the way down to 785 and took 3 days to recover from it. So again, we'll watch for those kind of movements again as we move towards the $10. But for the moment, an opening of 921 and a high of 953 for MMO. Again at half 4 p.m. UTC, so it's something to be careful of if you're checking it out during the day in the US or tomorrow morning, I suppose, anywhere else on the other side of the world over to the east. So one last one for us to check in here on NESS, the share token for Darkness US dollars swap platform. You can see it's called Darkness Share up here. One to look into for yourself. We're kind of watching just because it's so brand new and to see what happens with this ICO and their platform. Continuing low volume, averaging down on the volume again on the daily. We had tested that, 60, almost 59 cents range. So we had an opening of 61 and we had a low of 60. And then today we have an opening again of 61 and our high is looking like pushing to the 62 cents range. So not much happening. You can see we might have some sort of indication of a steadier uptick here for NESS, I suppose, indicating our initial investors holding tough for the moment and new interest coming onto the platform. Again, it'll be interesting to see what happens with a US dollar swap in the next couple of days at least. So that's it for NESS token. Not so much to look at there today. And thanks if you checked in from the Cronos Watcher. We will see you tomorrow, more likely closer to that 8 p.m. UTC, 4 hours before closing. And thank you for checking in if you did. We will talk to you then tomorrow. Cheers.